Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Adam Ship My Money Share. As we get back on the regular rotation, we have daily fantasy sports of the same sport. It is the NBA season. Adam, how are you doing?
Doing good. Enjoying getting full slates repeatedly now as we get a little bit more into the season. Always like the 6 to 10 game range, so should be a pretty fun one.
And we have a 9-gamer here for Saturday. We are, of course, recording this on Friday night, as we do with the Early Bird Podcast, your foundational podcast, presented to you by none other than Yahoo. That is Yahoo Fantasy Sports, home of the, what do we have? The YSRPs, Adam. So if you have not yet signed up for Yahoo, come in through our link, use the promo code AWESOMO, and then you will get a $30 deposit match in YSRPs for your first DFS deposit. You can find that link on any of the cash building block articles for NBA or the primetime NFL articles, and those are all free. They are in front of the paywall, and they are written by yours truly. Look in the top 3 or 4 paragraphs, and you will find one about Yahoo with the link and instructions. All right, Adam, we've got some back-to-backs. We've got some people that are dinged up a little bit. We're going to go position by position. It was interesting today. They had the Bogdanoviches with the same injury, even though Bojan was the one that was hurt, and Mogden, the Sacramento one, was not hurt. So it was kind of weird, but they fixed that later. Back-to-backs, we have Boston, the Knicks, Toronto, the Pelicans, Washington, Sacramento, Utah, Phoenix, and of course, Chicago. So 9 of our 18 teams are on back-to-backs. And of course, we do have the DFS strategy show at 9:30. That will be Adam and myself taking a nice leisurely look through the games. Then we have 2 NFL shows. And then, of course, we have a live before lock for NBA. That will be featuring Fast Eddie Fear. That will be at 6 o'clock on the Osmo YouTube channel. Adam, let's go by position here. We'll go with point guards. We will borrow from DraftKings just to keep standardized pricing here. The world is your oyster. Take it from the top, my friend.
Yes, I mean, the top of the position, you have both Rockets going up against the Pels, James Harden and Russell Westbrook, both still very favorably priced on DraftKings. Slight increases from their last game, but $10,200 for Harden, $9,100 for Westbrook. Really fast-paced Pelicans team. Obviously, you have quality backcourt defenders in Lonzo Ball and Drew Holiday, but individual defense, not something that concerns me all that much, especially with guys like Harden and Westbrook in a fast-paced game. So I really like the spot for those two, as I'm sure most people will.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. Moving on down the pricing list. Gosh, we have so much multi-position eligibility here. Trey Young, point guard. We'll get to Booker and Simmons at other positions. Drew Holiday, point guard there. Disappointed a little bit in that opening night up in Toronto. They are playing here on Friday night, so I will have to see what those numbers look like, but interesting matchup for him going against Houston. Kemba Walker going against New York. Kemba also slightly disappointed, but let's give him a break. He had played with one franchise for his whole career, went to a new team. Donovan Mitchell is on the back-to-back. He is someone that I am somewhat intrigued by. Utah will be playing Portland, both teams on the back-to-back. Let's pause there for a moment. How are you feeling about Donnie Mitchell there with Mike Conley in the fold?
Yeah, I think that the usage should still be there for Mitchell. I think the salary is pretty appealing as well at $7,900 on DraftKings. I would say that I like him, a little bit more than the guys priced around him in Fox, in Kemba Walker. Kemba against the Knicks, actually, I think is pretty decent, but Mitchell is certainly a good play.
All right, I'm going with the filters here so I can see everybody at once. Made my nice little spreadsheet. Might as well put it through its paces here. Let's see, we've got De'Aaron Fox is going to be someone who is somewhat interesting from time to time. You've got, what do we got? Malcolm Brogdon has looked really good lately. And then the other guy that I like is Elfrid Payton. Now, Peyton's dropping down a little bit more there on the pricing sheet, but he's someone I am interested in, Adam. How are you feeling about Peyton? He did get the start on Friday night. We know he has solid career numbers across the board, and his price hasn't caught up yet to his new role. Is he someone you would consider against Kemba Walker.
Yes, but also withholding judgment until we see exactly how that Knicks game goes. Right now, it's still in the second quarter. Fizdale's rotations are going to be all over the place all season long. I don't know. Something could very easily happen in the second quarter that makes me not interested, or second half rather, that makes me not interested in Peyton.
Fizdale sort of has the old Nuke Lelouch, right? Pitching style, sort of all over the place.
Yeah, that'll work.
And I broke my spreadsheet already. Jeez, come on. It was the first one. Oh, goodness. All right, we'll have to fix that. In any event, let's get back to... I'll just go do it the way I normally do this. Continue on down the pricing list here. Let's see. Lou Williams going against Phoenix. Lou's been getting some solid minutes. He will be going against Ricky Rubio and company. Rubio is someone I like quite a bit with this new team. It will be interesting to see how they perform with a real point guard. There is no DeAndre Ayton. He is suspended for 25 games diuretics, which I believe thins out your urine and sometimes could be used as a masking agent, I am guessing, for things that may or may not be legal in some states. Just let them have the puff pass. Talk to me here about Rubio. I think he's a good play.
I think his salary's come up a little bit to where I'm not as interested. He was 5,600 yesterday. Now he's up to 6,600 in a tough matchup against the Clippers. Just a really good Clippers team. I think that he's okay, but in that same price range, I would rather just find a couple $100 for Lou Williams, or save some money potentially going to like Alonzo Ball or DeJounte Murray against the Wizards.
All right, I'm gonna fix this damn thing on the fly. All right, back to the other fun stuff we're working on. Fred VanVleet, wow, he's getting the minutes. If you watch that game, Adam, he's a little shorter than everybody, he's a little slower than everybody, and he's a little doughier than everybody, but he did put up 56 points, DraftKings style on the true opening night, that 2-gamer there, but he was 5 of 7 from 3, 2 steals, 7 assists, 5 boards. That game is going right now. Where is he? Putting it in perspective, they are midway through the third quarter. He has 5 points on 1 of 8 shooting, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Feels like someone who's hard to trust.
Talking about Beal?
No, Fred VanVleet.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
We're going to go to Beal shortly, and then you get to have some fun on that one.
Yeah, no, VanVleet, I think the minutes should be there. He's going to be a good play most nights in terms of, a reasonably high floor, but the salary has come up pretty quickly. So not my favorite option.
All right. Anybody else down here as we get down towards the dregs, the sub 5s? You've got Ish Smith. We already hit on Lord Alfred Payton. You've got Tomas Satoransky, Pat Beverly, any of those guys at all?
Markelle Fultz, 4,400 on DraftKings, going up against Atlanta in a pace-up spot. Played 23.4 minutes in Orlando's first game. Led the team with a 28.3% usage percentage. I think he's a pretty interesting value option.
All right. Let's get on up to the top of the shooting guard position as we transition along. Let's start out with Mr. Bradley Beal. He is at 9,000 on DK. Don't worry, for those of you that like the other sites, we'll do a circle back here at the end talking about all of their different potential and possibility for you.
Yeah, I think that Beal is a really strong option here. It's not the best matchup against the Spurs. It is a road back-to-back, which also obviously isn't very appealing. One thing that stood out from the first game with Beal is that he dominated the potential assists for the Wizards. Ish Smith played 24 minutes to Beal's 31, and Beal had 16 potential assists compared to Smith's 4. So it'll be interesting to look back on the Oklahoma City game when that ends and see if that pattern continued or not. But I think that played right into what we expected to happen with Beal this season, being, very, very ball dominant. You should have Isaiah Thomas back, or possibly will have Isaiah Thomas back for this game as well. So that's one more ball handler on the floor that could siphon some touches away from Beal potentially.
All right. Somehow I added in a row, Adam. You work with Excel now. You ever do that when you have a VLOOKUP, add in a row, and all of a sudden nothing works?
Oh, yeah. It's terrible.
You would think I would know better after using Excel. Let's see. Longer than you've been alive. That's awesome. Okay. Moving on down the pricing list here. Talk to me here about Devin Booker a little bit more in depth. This is a back-to-back. Is he going to get the Kawhi treatment, I guess, is a quicker way of asking the question.
You would think so. The flip side of that is he could also get the Pat Beverly treatment. It doesn't really matter. My guess it would probably be that they try Beverly on him first just to save Kawhi energy.
That makes sense. That's a good point. Let's see. Zach LaVine, Toronto and Chicago there on the back-to-back. DeMar DeRozan, he is going against Washington. Washington will be on the back-to-back. Spurs have not played since the 23rd, which was Wednesday, so they've had some time off there. Would you be interested at all in DeMar DeRozan or Zach LaVine?
I think that it's a really nice bounce back spot for DeRozan against the Wizards. He was absolute garbage against the Knicks in their first game, but we know who DeRozan is. You know, he averaged 1.1 fantasy points per minute last year. He's still inexpensive. He has small forward eligibility on DraftKings, which is really nice, and a favorable matchup against Washington. So I would give him a slight edge over LaVine, who I do love this season, but who does have a tougher matchup against Toronto and is on the second half of a back-to-back.
The interesting thing about Sweet Lou Williams, he's on the team with a lot of good passers, but he is averaging 7.5 assists through the first 2 games. He does have point guard eligibility because DraftKings likes to give everybody multi-position eligibility as long as your name's not Bradley Beal. What do you think here about Sweet Lou, potentially Brogdon, who has been he got to the line, hit 10 of 11 on opening night. Or their opening night on Wednesday. That's pretty impressive. And Jeremy Lamb may be injured. Anybody else here kind of in that $5,000 to $6,000 range?
Collin Sexton is kind of interesting. He actually played really well at the end of last season once Kevin Love came back, and he started out this season pretty well also. Being on Cleveland, being on such a terrible team, he probably won't get much ownership, but he's at least mildly interesting.
I was going to say, have you yourself lifted your embargo? I know Cleveland is a team you don't like to go to.
I hate going to Cleveland, but so does everyone else, and they're pretty cheap. So in Cleveland's first game, I had a decent amount of Sexton, a decent amount of Chetty. It was one of those where I saw that I was getting them, and I wasn't happy about it, but you kind of just have to live with it.
All right, last guy that sort of makes sense here is going to be Josh Richardson. Never great from the field, did go 9 for 9 from the line, filled up the rest of the box score, but had 30 fantasy points there in the opener against Detroit. The 33 minutes are nice to see here. The Philadelphia team, deep, pretty good on defense, but at 4,900, I've got to give some consideration to him at least.
Yeah, it seems like a really cheap price tag considering the minutes that he played. Like you said, 33.1 minutes in that first game. Trying to pull up now to see how his potential stats looked. He had 5 potential assists, which isn't anything special, and had 9 potential rebounds, which is decent. But so nothing special, not super involved. Had a 21.4% usage percentage, but it's mostly just a minutes and salary play, I think.
All right, let's kind of hit on a few guys here. DeJounte Murray, and this will wrap up the position. Derek White and Bryn Forbes. I'm going to leave Patty Mills. You know what? Let's put Patty Mills in there. He's 3,500 on DK. Those guys are all squaring off against the Washington Wizards. DeJounte Murray had an amazing opening night. He had 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 18 points, put up a 40 burger there. It was 7 to 10 from the field. We're not going to see that. 1 for 1 from 3. He doesn't tend to shoot a lot of threes, but it's nice to see him coming back after missing last season due to injury. But it was Bryn Forbes that got a ton of the minutes over everybody else. He was in there for 33. I had figured it was going to be Derek White. He ended up with just 22. I think we're going to be seeing a little bit of a whack-a-mole, potentially hot hand, which is... And I say hot hand, that's the easiest way to just describe it. But Greg Popovich, when doing something like that, generally has a reason. We may not know the reason. So hot hand could be playing the better defense, could be the right matchups that he wants. It's in addition to scoring. So point being is, I don't know how we figure out who's going to get minutes below Murray there.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any real clear way to figure that out. It's going to probably, like you said, it's going to vary based on game. The easiest way in general to approach those situations, or I don't even want to say easiest, the best way is to just look to be different than the field. Whenever you have a situation where there are players that affect each other's minutes and that are going to be volatile on a game-to-game basis, it's a pretty easy spot to, if if the field is going to have recency bias and go after a player who played well, last game or 2 games ago, you can just go and pivot to the other guy.
Yeah, and the other thing you can do in addition to that, if you're doing the mass multi-entry, you can set up some rules within Fantasy Cruncher or your potential optimizer. But you could always set a group there and say, hey, of these 3 guys, never play more than one of them on the same lineup. That's something that is rather helpful. Used that a few times already this season. You can also get 50% off any 1-month package at Osmo and use the Fantasy Cruncher add-on. Use the promo code EARLYBIRD, all one word, to accomplish that fun task. All right, Adam, we're on to small forward here. Let's get the old Excel switching gears. Looking to the top of our chart here, we've got Kawhi Leonard. We mentioned Ben Simmons, but did not go into great detail. He's got a matchup there with Detroit. And then Brandon Ingram. Nice price there at 69. Let's start off with the 2 guys above 8K. Kawhi Leonard, Ben Simmons. How are you feeling about them for Saturday night?
I never seem to get to much Kawhi, and I don't think it's going to be much different this season. There's just no real reason for the Clippers to be playing him, more than 32, 33 minutes a night. It's a good matchup against the Suns, but it's not even that he's too expensive for what he's going to give you. It's just that there are going to be players in a similar price range that you can get to that I think give you a little bit higher ceiling. He's pretty much always going to be a better play on FanDuel because of the roster restrictions compared to DraftKings.
All right. The thought might... let's not worry about projecting blowouts. It just gives you a little bit of caution there when you see the Clippers going against Phoenix, but it is on the road. Phoenix is on the back-to-back. We'll have to see how that works out, but Kawhi Leonard at 8,900, reasonable price point there. Brandon Ingram is someone that I know you have been a fan of or watching along with some of the other Lakers, and now we have the Lakers Cajun style here with them at the Pelicans. Wanted to give them a quick shout out, Adam, before we talk about Brandon Ingram. They just put up 41 points on Dallas in the first quarter.
Yeah, hopefully that leads to Luka having a big rest of the game because I need that to happen.
We shall see. We shall see. But let's talk about Brandon Ingram. He's over his injury issue that he had with that, and I'm not even going to do it justice, but the thoracic outlet, whatever it was. But he was solid in the first game. He's been good thus far in the first quarter here. He's shorter than I remember. He's still tall, but he's shorter than I thought. And he's a much slighter of build than I seem to remember.
Ingram is?
Yeah, I don't know why that is.
I actually forgot how tall he was. I was thinking he was 6'7".
Is it? I thought what I thought he was.
He's 6'9".
Okay, well, a little bit more. I think
at least according to Google. I don't know. Maybe he lost a couple inches, and Google hasn't updated with the with the new NBA measuring rules. But
wait, they have new rules?
Yeah, they actually made teams this year give them like legitimate heights.
Really, and not just the made up one.
Yeah, not the made up one. Yeah, not Kevin Durant 6'11", and yeah, you lost a couple inches on the short guys, gained a couple inches on the tall guys.
Interesting. Okay. Fun little aside there, but I think I was just used to seeing Julius Randle or somebody. I just had a bigger guy in mind, but he wasn't. But he looked good out there in the stretch of game I was watching. How are you feeling about him? Is Jason Tatum, Aaron Gordon, Tobias Harris, any of those guys near him on the price sheet intriguing at all?
Yeah, I think Ingram's going to be interesting just because he's going to be one of the highest usage guys on this team. There's at least the potential for him to put up better rebounding numbers this year than he has in the past, while Zion's out at least and he's playing the 4. It didn't really manifest itself in that first game. He played really well, had a good fantasy game, but it wasn't due to rebounding. He only had 9 rebound opportunities. So that was disappointing, but it's something to keep an eye on going forward. Even if he doesn't rebound well, though, at right around $7,000, playing 34 to 36 minutes as one of the highest usage guys on the team, he's still going to carry value.
All right, let's keep on moving down the price sheet, throwing out a couple other names here. TJ Warren left the game early. We'll have to see if he's going to play in this one. Kelly Oubre Jr. had a phenomenal game Tobias Harris had a 15 and 15. That was pretty impressive. He must have learned that when he was in Detroit. What do you like amongst those guys, and then anybody else that pops out there for you?
Not a whole lot down there.
All right. Otto Porter was on a minutes limit on Friday night, so you have to see what he is up with him on Saturday. And then let's see if there's any other news here. Nope, that looks pretty straightforward. With the absence of Ayton, do you think that's going to help Dario Saric at all?
We'll have a better idea after the Phoenix game plays on Friday night. Baines is starting in Ayton's place, but we'll obviously going into Saturday for the show in the morning and for the deep dive article, we'll know how that Phoenix rotation shook out.
Excellent. Let's get on over here to power forward. Hey, look, there's Julius Randle. You've got Pascal Siakam, 8,500 for Siakam, 8K for Randle, 7,700 for LaMarcus Aldridge in that sublime matchup going against the Wizards. Domantas Sabonis. Oh, let's set him aside. Talk to me about the top of the price list, and then I've got a special question for Domantas.
So at the top, not really the most appealing position today. It's for the first couple of big slates, there were a ton of options here, and there still are, but there's just legitimate question marks about like all these guys. I think, Pascal Siakam's salary is up to 8,500. He's in the midst of another quality game on Friday night against Boston. He's going to obviously be really good this year, playing huge minutes, taking on a much higher usage role without Kawhi, rebounding well. Really, really good player, but the price tag has come up. He's on a back-to-back, but it is a nice matchup against the Bulls. So I think that he stands out as the guy at the top that I like. Then you have Kevin Love against Indiana, probably not playing in the same area code of minutes as Siakam, so it's tough to get there. Lauri Markkanen, of course, really, really good, but a tough matchup against Toronto. Julius Randle in a tough matchup against Boston. And then you get LaMarcus Aldridge against the Wizards in a good spot. Still pretty cheap. Averaged almost 1.2 points per minute last year. So at the top, I think it's Siakam and Aldridge for me.
All right, so we know that Domantas Sabonis and Myles Turner both started for the Pacers. Last year, rarely did they play together for a variety of reasons. This year, things are different. Clearly, they're trying to get their best five on the floor. They've got the addition of Malcolm Brogdon and Jeremy Lamb and TJ Warren. But, of course, they do not have Victor Oladipo, who's dealing with injuries still. If you haven't already looked at the game flow box score, which most of us do by Popcorn Machine here. That's popcornmachine.net. If you want to follow along at home, it's pretty cool. It takes a little while to get used to, but it is an awesome tool. Have you seen how many minutes they played together?
No, but just from watching the game, it was a pretty decent amount. It went pretty much how I expected it to go. You had Sabonis.
I've eyeballed it. It's they played about 25 minutes together. Turner played 38 total. Sabonis played 20 or 35 total. So they played the majority of the game side by side.
Yeah, and they staggered. So Sabonis was the backup center.
Yep, and then but they both started, both closed out the second quarter, both started the second half. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But you're right. That's where Sabonis was getting his extra time there because he was getting it without. Let's see. Oh, Turner did have some time without Sabonis. Yeah, but it's actually a good job of staggering. Looking at that box score, but interesting call out there, which I wasn't expecting as much. So we shall see.
Yeah, and I still really like Sabonis. He's not as productive alongside Turner as you would expect, but the fact he is getting those backup center minutes. Last year he averaged about 1.05 points per minute alongside Turner and 1.35 points per minute without Turner. But when you're getting, close to half your minutes without Turner and then half alongside him, it still ends up being a really productive spot, especially against a weak Cleveland team.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Let's see. John Collins, Lauri Markkanen, Montrezl Harrell, Thomas Bryant. Those guys have all been on a lot of my lineups. The guy I think that stands out the most is Montrezl Harrell, followed closely by Thomas Bryant, just because there is really no second option on the Wizards. It's kind of Bradley Beal and, well, we'll see if Isaiah Thomas can do anything from a scoring standpoint, and he hasn't really been effective in 2 seasons. What do you like of this secondary tier, shall we call it?
Yeah, so I like Sabonis more than I like Collins or Bryant. I do like Bryant a lot this season just because he's the clear second option on the Wizards. But the salary started out high and it's already increasing. So, I had a lot of him at low ownership last night. I think that if he's going to be low owned again, he's someone you can play in tournaments. But as far as someone that projects really well, there's just going to be better point per dollar options at the position.
Okay, this let's see. Let me back to my sheet. This should be kind of fun. Let's see. Let's flip it. Sort this here by. I'm gonna rename these columns because they don't make sense to me. But let's see who comes. Richaun Holmes. He's gonna be 4K. We have not yet seen what's going on in with Sacramento tonight, but Marvin Bagley broke his, what did he break? Fractured his thumb. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. So you're going to see some sort of combination of Richaun Holmes, Nemanja Bjelica, Dwayne Dedman, and I'm missing a less than stellar option there that are going to fill in the front court there for for Sacramento. They were one of the teams I used to rule and said don't play more than one of these guys on my tournament lineups just because I don't know what's going to happen with their minutes, and I think it can be very fluid. Now we've got them on a back-to-back, plus they're going against a really good front court with Rudy Gobert. Do you think Sacramento will be chalk at all?
Yeah, they're still really, really cheap. Obviously, we'll have a better idea how their rotation plays out. My rule was that I only let it play 2 out of Bjelica, Holmes, and Dedman, but we'll know after the game against Portland if Holmes is still purely the backup center, if he gets some more minutes alongside Dedman. But at 4K for Holmes, he's over a fantasy point per minute guy. I think in this matchup, it's a much easier fade than it was yesterday when he was 3,400. Tough matchup, but also, if he is still just the backup center, you can't really project him for more than 21, 22 minutes. And at 4K, he can still fail there pretty easily. Same goes for Bjelica, except for I think he has a path to more minutes. I think, he's the obvious replacement for Bagley, and you're probably going to see at least 24 to 26. So between the two, I would give the edge to Bjelica.
Yeah, I just went and looked. The other guy I had limited with them was Bogdanovich. Just because I didn't know what they were going to do with his minutes, and I felt that they all couldn't get there, and I didn't want too many of them because basically I've got one of them on every single lineup, just because of where their price per dollar was, but I didn't want it to go more than that. But that's one of the fun things you can use there over on Fantasy Cruncher. Just quickly, 2 other guys, a couple Clippers here going against Phoenix: JaMychal Green and Maurice Harkless. How are you feeling about either of them? Green at 3,800, Harkless at 43 DK pricing.
Yeah, not overly interested in either one. Patrick Patterson got another start over Green against the Warriors, which kind of surprised me, but you also got a lot of minutes from Patterson, which is even more surprising.
Yeah, it was blowout minutes though, right?
I haven't looked at Popcorn Machine. I just saw the
Let me go. Oh, sorry.
It wasn't. Patterson played 17 minutes in the first half. Didn't play at all in the fourth quarter.
Yikes. All right. Well, that's something that's worth noting. God, if it had been a close game, you think he would have got another 7 minutes?
It looks that way based on the way the rotation was going.
Huh.
I think that kind of kills JaMychal Green as long as that's happening. Mo Harkless had a good first game, had a mediocre second game, played 24 minutes against the Warriors. I think you get probably around 26, assuming this game stays competitive.
That's just wild that Zubac had 16 points, what was it, like 8 rebounds or whatever, and it ended up being just 20 or 18 minutes, and he didn't play after midway through the third quarter.
Yeah.
Oh boy, this is where the flow chart is very helpful, because I just had assumed, those guys got extra run because they had run that air quote second unit so much of Harrell, Lou Williams, Harkless, and Green on opening night, but nope. Interesting. Doc Rivers, you crafty person. On to the center spot here. Andre Drummond going against Joel Embiid. Intriguing matchup for both of them. They are both familiar with that one. If I remember correctly, I believe there's a little bit of rivalry for that one. How do you like either of these guys cresting over 9,000 on DraftKings?
Hang on. We're back up over 9,000.
Embiid and
Okay, sorry,
Drummond.
I was still looking at the bottom of power forward. Um, Drummond has been absolutely awesome, obviously, but the price tag has come up to where it should be. He was 8,400 and then 8,300 on DraftKings the first two games. Now he's up to 9,500. Most expensive center on the slate. Still, average about 1.45 DraftKings points per minute without Griffin last season. 26% usage rate, 27% rebounding percentage, and plays huge minutes for this team. So I still think he's a good play. It's just not the 100% play that it was for the first couple of days for him. Joel Embiid a little bit cheaper, not going to play as many minutes, but we know how good he is. Averaged about 1.65 points per minute without Jimmy Butler last year. So both of those guys, strong options. Just neither one is like a guy to lock in. I don't think like we had earlier in the season.
All right, let me see if anybody else pops out here, because of course Adam and I will be going over all of this game by game starting at 9:30 on Saturday morning. We'll turn that into a podcast so you can also take it with you doing yard work, going to kids events, soccer, lacrosse, and flag football season around here, judging by the schools when I drive by. Finishing up here at the top for center, Rudy Gobert, Clint Capella getting New Orleans on the back-to-back. Pascal Siakam going against Chicago. Both teams on a back-to-back there. Anybody else here on the top shelf that you would like to mention?
Yeah, I think Capella is definitely worth a look. He had 20 rebound chances in 30.9 minutes for Houston in his first game. Obviously, there were some concerns about what Russell Westbrook was going to do to his rebounding numbers. Westbrook, got his share also with 16 of them, but Capella grabbed 12 rebounds, and he's still affordable in a pace-up game against an inefficient shooting Pelicans team. I think that now that Drummond is priced up, I think that you can start to get to guys like Capella a little bit easier.
All right, a lot of the guys we hit at our other positions, so I'm just going to quickly throw out a few value price options here. Let's look real quick at FanDuel, see who pops up. Oops, it's the wrong column. It looks like, oh, good God, let's not go back. Oh, Daniel Tice is popping, but he did go to the locker room for a bit of an injury on Friday night, came back out, but we'll have to see. But if anything is wrong with him, that could be more minutes for Robert Williams, as long as he does not get into foul trouble. We're going to be looking at Aaron Baines over there. Let's look at some non-centers. Sorry, let's get rid of that filter here. Let's see. James Harden comes up as an interesting option here, Adam, as does Jeremy Lamb. We'll have to see. Lamb's carrying the Q tag there on FanDuel. Trey Lyles had some additional work for the Spurs. Any of those names seem interesting at all? They're some of the better point per dollar plays.
Yeah, I think James Harden seems interesting.
That is pretty crazy. What are we? Well, I know now. I'm making sure I don't have the wrong look up here. Yeah, he's coming in at a reasonable point per dollar there. So have to check that out on FanDuel. We'll go into more detail on that, but we'll also talk how he and Russell Westbrook worked out together there. Jumping over here real fast to the one and only Yahoo, the presenting sponsor. They have a host of $10 players, so you're going to be able to find what you want there. You've got Zubac, OG Anunoby, Aaron Baines, Tice, who we've mentioned before. Let's see, Jakob Poeltl. Let's see, JaMychal Green. So there's a whole bunch of ways to get to their more expensive guys. The one thing you can do there is go up to like the $12 or $13 range, and you can get very unique very quickly. They still have a ton of min price guys, but as the season moves on there, that's where you'll want to pay attention, because you can, by spending the extra dollar or two at one or two positions, come up with a much more unique lineup for that. But we're going to get on out of here, because we've kept you guys for over a half hour now, and I think that is enough, considering we got two more basketball shows for you tomorrow, plus the deeper dive behind the paywall, and then a couple articles in front of the paywall. Definitely give Osmo a look if you have not signed up before. We have 1 week packages starting as low as $3.95. That'll give you a little taste of what is available. We also have monthly packages. You can get those half a month free if you use the promo code EARLYBIRD. all one word. Excellent way to go. Follow Adam over there at ShipMyMoneyDFS on Twitter. I'm at EmacDFS, and it is Osmo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.